Hello everyone. It's been a while since I made a video on this channel or for this channel rather. But recently I've been playing this game called Terra Obscura Expedition 33. You've probably heard of it and it's a very popular game right now. And I really love this game. I already finished the game, so spoiler alert for those. And I just want to share my builds for all five party members. I want to immortalize these builds and talk about how I actually ended up having them. Now, if you're looking for a guide on how to make a build that deals tons of damage or just makes the game easy, this is not the video for it. This is a video on my completely blind run of this game. So I don't have all the best equipment. I don't know. It's mostly just the discovery of me using the correct builds to play the game on normal difficulty actually, not even expedition, because it turns out if you don't have all the information on you to make a powerful OP one-shot build, the game gets really hard. So I want to talk about all five of them, and I want to immortalize these builds forever in a YouTube video. And also because I'm really glad that throughout the course of the game, I actually used all five characters. There was no character that just sat in the back line, and I never used them. Mostly because of the last stand system, which was really helpful if you're going in blind and your ass is just getting kicked by every single year. So I'm going to roll some footage on my late game builds, but I'm also going to talk about how I actually built it up in as early as Act 2 and how these builds help me eventually break the story difficulty of the game. The super bosses are still absolutely difficult, but the main story after a few rounds of the understander just was way too easy. So with that said, let's get with the builds. So let's start with Mael first. I think a lot of people will just easily figure out how to use Mael. You just apply burns using Spark and Rain of Fire. You enter Swift Stride so that you're in Virtuous, and then deal a lot of damage in using Combustion. And before you break the damage cap, you will probably hit 9,999 very easily using these. But for me, the big thing that made Mael different was I actually equipped Confident on her for almost the entire game. Yes, she can't be healed, but mostly because her first turn is spent using Spark anyway, which puts you in a defensive stand. You get plus 100 defense or something. It's not, you don't actually get 100% damage reduction, but it's very close to it. And my L will just last for a ridiculously long time with all the defense bonuses and damage reduction that she got. And on top of this, I actually gave her Auto Shell and Longer Shell. Now, I actually don't know if Longer Shell works on turn 1 due to Auto Shell, but I just left it on anyway. And for the most part, she was very tanky. And surprisingly enough, because of how I played the game, I just bum rushed it, barely doing any side quests, and so it was very difficult for me. The fight starting getting harder and harder. In Act 2 specifically, my L would just last longer than the main party because the main party will get blown up by a certain high damage attack, and then I can't dodge it. And the two other guys were just gonna lie dead, but at least Mael can, survive it and then revive the other units. And of course, she herself, if she does fall, she can get revived at 65% HP, and she's going to last even longer thanks to that. Eventually, I also gave her the thing that allows you to auto revive, and that makes her last even longer. But that was mostly in Act 3, and that was only a short amount of time before I accidentally broke the game's difficulty. But overall, yeah, I would recommend Confident and Auto Life if you can activate it, because if you just win every fight, you're not gonna need to heal ever. Because if you die, just heal back up to full health, and then if you win the fight, you get Auto Life back. Sorry, the name of the skill is Second Chance and not Auto Life. That's a Final Fantasy term. Now, the next unit that I actually figured out to use was Shield, which might surprise a lot of people, considering I don't actually find it to be a popular choice because of how complicated the Sun and Moon and Fourth Veil system is. But yeah, for the most part, in Act 1 and onwards, Mael was the one carrying the theme, and CL was just not even in the main party. She's the last stand unit. However, as the game become more and more difficult, I actually got to use her a lot more because, there's a lot more enemies that will just kill my main party, and then she finishes it off with her being the last stand unit. The only last stand unit for quite a while, I will add, because you don't get Monokco until you're deep into Act 2. So I decided to build around the fact that she is the unit in Last Stand. Now, so what would that mean? Well, first of all, she's going to be the only unit left, so stuff like Accelerating Last Stand, Solo Fighter are all going to be useful on her. But more importantly, I gave her the Chatillon weapon, which will always apply tenfold tel, but double the damage you take. Which sounds really nuts, sounds really dangerous. But to counteract it, I also gave her Confident. She takes less damage, but can't be healed. The idea here is that I just need to survive 2 turns so that I can apply Bad Omen to all enemies, and they're already at low health, so a Dark Wave should be able to kill them. And yeah, eventually this actually became an important thing, because later on, she joins the main party because the bosses, were very weak to Dark. So my boss strategy for Duelist actually was to first enter the super powered up mode. I forgot the name. And then spend the free turn using a gradient attack that applies Stem for Tel automatically. Or 20, because the Chatillon will add to that. And then she just uses Twilight Dam. So that's 4 hits of 9,999 damage. I used it to beat the Duelist, just hitting the damage cap over and over again. She quickly fell down because she does take normal damage now, because she has Confident and is getting double damage. But I just kept reviving her, and eventually the Duelist fell before her, which was really nice and really cool, because suddenly a character that I was just using as a backup plan became central to me, and she actually stayed useful just to deal with dark enemies, or just to deal with huge crowds. Just, apply Bad Omen to everyone and then blow them up with Dark Wave. If she does die, in the main party, she at least will still deal enough damage that she killed the enemy first, or at least a significant chunk of them, before she goes down, and then we clear the fight. The next character that I built around was Monokco. So it's the last character. It's kind of weird, but it's because of how easy to use Monokco is. He gains all of his skills just by killing enemies, so I don't have to worry about AP and stuff. And this was important because he gets Paladin heal during the tutorial fight. He gets the foot of the Paladin. And that's huge, because I actually have been carrying the longer shell and healing shell. Where is that?
protecting heal, yeah. So I know that I had a good combo in longer shell and protecting heal. And eventually I also got powerful long shell, which means that if Monokco does Pelerin heal, he actually will, during caster mark, he will heal all the allies and then box them with powerful and 3 turns of shell, which was huge. He just basically negated so much damage. And then later on, he got a Vex Spear, which applied powerless to enemies, and that was even more important. So now I can deal with extra hard bosses and not worry about being one shot by a messed up combo because I failed to dodge or parry at the correct time. And so, with these two, he became a very good healer slash debuffing unit. And I just built around it more and more with Contortionist Blast, where he heals for a very small amount here, but it again activates all the buffs. Gulp Theory if he doesn't need to heal. Potier Energy just, gives AP to allies, which is very useful in the start of Act 3, where I don't really have a good way to give AP, and all the skills are starting to, become more expensive. And Chevalier's Piercing, which just breaks shields. But when he's on like full mix of support and debuffing mode, actually gave them Abyss Twin, which sounds kind of weird, but at least it moves the max system ASAP. It costs 0 AP2, and he plays a second turn. So basically, he gets the Pelerin heal much faster. And because of the Pelerin heal plus powerless combo, Monokco actually replaced Lune as my healer for a very long time, just because he has far more flexibility than what Lune did, unfortunately. But hey, overall, I think Monokco is one of my favorite characters as well. And Nusaro, I got this. I never leveled it up, I think, but it has 1,000 attack on its own, and it was amazing. And because of this, Monokco just instantly joined the main party because it's just so rewarding to bring him everywhere so that you can get all these skills. And plus the fact that he replaced Lune because he had good healing, but also ways to debuff, but also still deal decent amount of damage or just, pierce shields. Having such a wide variety of skills, not just healing or applying burn, just made Monokco far more flexible and useful than Lune for quite a while. But remember, eventually I did also figure out Lune. Oh, and I would like to note here that the shell, longer shell, healing, and powerless combo actually made the Endless Tower very easy for me, and I got into a very deep run until enemies started, outspeeding me, and I didn't have the Pictos to match it. But I went from level 40 something to level 60 just because of that, which just also broke the game's difficulty in half, at least for the story fights. And you'll be able to fight all the way to, I don't know, just Act 3 or something, whatever they call it. So it's like 10, 12 fight, and it gives you like 50 bajillion AXP, and then you just beat the game from there. So I want to talk about flyers next. Those very annoying enemies that can only use free aim to reliably shoot them down. But I didn't have a good way to deal with flyers, and that kind of sucked. So I tried to find a way, and I noticed that Verso has the weapon called the Dualizo, which allows him to play again after a big attack. I knew that I had a combo with combo attack 1 and energizing attack 2, which means I get 4 AP on base attack. And eventually I got energizing turn, which gives 1 AP on start. And that just means a lot of AP and a lot of bullets to at least take out one flyer per turn, which was excellent. So Versus plan mostly was just shoot down an enemy, base attack some random enemy that's not flying so that he can actually hit it, and then kill the flying enemy by shooting it down even more. And if he has extra AP, he just goes for leadership. He gives the entire party AP so that Mael can, I don't know, do a pyroclastic, whatever. Then later on, I realized, hey, if I combine both the APs together by just saving a few AP from the first turn, I can use follow up for a lot of damage, which was really cool. And mostly that was my plan for quite a while. But then I realized, wait, no, I could just have 9 AP outright and just use Phantom Stars to hit all enemies, or Endbringer to hit one dude. And eventually, Phantom Stars was actually the key thing that allowed me to go for more floors at the Endless Tower and just, break the game's difficulty, as I've said. And I'm really glad that I just stumbled into this build just because they needed a way to deal with flyers. It's all about Dualiso and gaining a lot of AP just because of base attack, and it's very good, and I would highly recommend anyone to use this because it's very easy to play. He gets to S rank easily. You can fail a few blocks and parries, but you'll still probably get to S eventually, or the enemy will just be dead even for that happens. For the very long time, I just didn't know what to do with Lune. She did a little healing. She built up her own AP so that she could use that ability that required or stains once deal damage, but it was just okay damage even. But then I realized that she has revitalization deep into the skill tree. It's rather expensive, 5 energy. But hey, that is a guaranteed heal for all allies every turn if I can get it, if I can get 5 AP. And that means I could just buff everyone else as well because I have protecting heal and powerful on shell. Right, that's pretty cool. And yeah, eventually she became this healer. And eventually I got this weapon which gives her a light stain every time she heals. So eventually what she does was just heal everyone, spamming heals using revitalization, sometimes revive and with rebirth, make her energy using thermal transfer, and sometimes she gets to play a second term because thermal transfer will consume 2 light state, and then eventually if she can attack you with 7 AP, she can do Crystal Crush, right? And this is very, very useful because it breaks the enemy as well. She's mostly a healer, but eventually she can attack. And in combination with Monokco and Lune and Verso, I actually got the deep run into the Endless Tower. And yeah, it's not Mael because a lot of early enemies in the tower are actually resistant to fire, and while you can apply fire as a weakness, it's gonna take a while to set up the terms. Meanwhile, Verso can just keep attack and just start with Phantom Stars, which is nuts, right? And that's a lot of light damage against a lot of light weak enemies early in the early floors of the tower. And you just need to be 9 battles, I think, I can't remember. And that's enough to just ricochet you to beat the final boss. And that's all from me. As you can see, there's a lot of things that I still need to do. I haven't 100%ed the game. There's so many enemies. There's still so many super bosses to fight as well. I just finished the game and I need to make this video just so I can have something to remember the game by years after years that I can just watch. So yeah, thank you everyone, and I'll see you next time.